All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 15th, 2025 study meeting of the Livonia City Council. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Honorable Councilwoman Linda Scheel.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Scheel. All right, so this meeting sets the agenda for the 2009 regular meeting, which will be a voting meeting that will take place on Monday, January 27th, 2025, where tonight's items will be officially voted on. Right now, I do not see any council absences. We have everybody here. And I'm going to jump right into audience communication. Council has set aside 30 minutes for items that are not on the agenda. Mr. Martin, you know the drill. Good to see you.
Well,
Happy New Year.
Yes. Well, Happy New Year to each and every one of you, hardworking employees of the city. Christopher Martin, resident of the great state of Michigan. Just want to talk about the recent appointment on council for a vacancy. Years ago, I had put in the idea of the individual that comes in fifth place, who's not elected, but comes in fifth place, would automatically fill that role should somebody move on to a higher position or decide to retire or whatever the situation might be that would leave an opening. And that went absolutely, positively nowhere. It went absolutely nowhere. And still thought it was a good idea, but there are certain alliances that are formed. Okay? Talking about alliances that are formed, as someone who ran on their own, spent $1,000 and got 5,060 votes, I will tell you the way to win an election here is not necessarily money. You got to get four people together, each of them throw in $1,000 or don't go over the $1,000 limit on donations. One piece of paper to fill out. It's a waiver. That's it. But they're very successful across the street on the school board when they run four as a team. And that's what needs to take place here if you want to really make a change. It would be four people running, four names on one side, because now instead of myself, where I just kicked in 1,000, okay, for my own signs, now you've got 4,000 to spend. So my suggestion to those out there in TV land who have a desire and think that they can actually make an improvement, you're only going to be able to make an improvement if you've got four votes. So something to think about out there for those that might want to put together a group and run as a team for city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Any other audience communications? You're getting good at this. You are. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I'll ignore them if they do. Greg Ralco, once again, 16232, or no, that's my old address, 36116 Fairway Drive. I lived in Livonia for 30 years. Just a quick update from the last meeting. 2 days ago, the Farmington Hills City Council joined the Madison Heights City Council in denying the Sheets proposal that was put in front of them. As you may recall, at the last meeting, I read the quote from the Detroit News regarding Madison Heights. Again, it said, the Madison Heights City Council voted against approving a Sheets gas station, citing concerns that it was incompatible with adjacent residential land uses, would have adverse effects on the environment, and that Sheets failed to demonstrate the need for its business in the area. The Farmington Hills City Council unanimously voted down the proposal on Monday. A Fox 2 Detroit story quoted one council member saying, "Sheets is out of character for the area." Another said, "That particular area is not where a Sheets should be located." And a third, "The project is too intense, not compatible with the surrounding areas." I gave Lori copies of those those documents, in addition to one that was written in the by the Detroit News on January 5th for the Livonia opposition. In addition to what you heard earlier regarding the legal implications of the Sheetz petition here in Livonia, the residents of Madison Heights and Farmington Hills and the residents from Livonia have all been saying the same thing. A 24/7 Sheetz gas station, restaurant, convenience store, and drive-through doesn't belong anywhere near residential homes. Located on a service drive off a freeway, absolutely, but not near homes and neighborhoods. We all have big concerns about the environment. In fact, the Livonia concern is greatest, since the corner is less than 100 feet away from golf course ponds and streams that ultimately lead to the Rouge River. The Sheetz claim of filling both great need and demand is simply nonsense. The Livonia site is already saturated with nearby gas stations. And we petitioned the closest 3 Livonia subdivisions to the 8 Mile and Newburgh corner, and 95% of the 1,000 residents we spoke to said they didn't want it. They emphasized that there is no need for Sheetz whatsoever. When you
30 seconds.
When you step back and understand what's happening here, you see that Sheetz is throwing as many proposals at the Metro Detroit wall as they can, hoping that some of them will stick. But they are focusing on densely populated residential areas when their business model obviously points to highway commercial. And in the process, they demand that every city and every resident bend over backwards to accommodate their aggressive expansion plans. In my opinion, they should have been here 25 years ago when perhaps there was a real opportunity.
That's it, sir. I got to cut you off.
But that's not it. They're too late.
But thank you for that. The next meeting, you could, again, for audience communication, feel free to jump in on that, but you did close on that time.
That was 3 minutes?
That was 3 minutes. You're close. Listen, you did really well in the first meeting. You had like a couple seconds to spare. But I appreciate it. Anything else from audience?
Chair?
Yes.
You may want to announce about Sheetz was supposed to be here tonight, right?
Yes.
They're the ones that, because I think there were residents that had come in, and it was on TV today on Channel 4 at noon.
Yeah.
That we were holding a
It
meeting
worked
tonight.
out, the way that social
Yeah,
media, and
you might
Councilman
wanna
Toy
explain
brings
it.
up,
Yeah.
the way Facebook and everything works, the word can get out pretty quick, because I remember when I popped in, we were there expecting a lot of people and a bunch of stuff, because the original item, the petitioner did move the item to the next meeting. So again, if everybody's out there, petitioners have the ability to remove items off the agenda. So I would just keep an eye on the website and ensure that those agendas are accurate. And as it gets closer to the meeting, just as I think as everybody seen this, just keep an eye on it. And we'll do our best to get the information out. With that being said, is there anything else from the audience? What about council? Any council updates? Wow. Mark that one out, guys. That's wonderful. Look at everybody. With that being said, I'm going to move right into the study agenda with item number 1 and under new business. Item number 1 is a request for designation as a nonprofit organization. Comes to us from the Penguin Corp. Incorporated, as required by the state of Michigan to obtain a charitable gaming license to allow a raffle fundraiser in the future. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
did I gut that name?
Nope.
Oh.
You got it right.
Listen, I have a tendency. So tell us a little bit about what you got going.
We're just a small nonprofit organization, and we're going to be holding a fundraising event in May, and we just kind of want to run a raffle to try and raise some more money.
No, that's great.
So,
Let me ask you this. You guys are obviously a Livonia business or a nonprofit. What do you guys do?
we support education on open source software and programming and speculative fiction.
Awesome. No, I've never, that's great to know. We always pride ourselves with as many service groups in the city, and
Yeah.
it's wonderful. Council, do we have any direction? Councilman Budzinski?
approving on consent if there's no objection from my colleagues.
Perfect. So we've been approving on consent, and right now, I know our Governmental Affairs Director, Rob Jerzwicki's up there. If you want to give him a card, if you guys got events coming up and everything and that we can help you out with, feel free. I'm sure the city would love to help our service groups.
Okay.
But right now, you do have an approving on consent, which means you could come back and hang out with us the next meeting on the 27th, but you don't have to.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let me go to the audience. Does anybody have concerns on the charitable gaming license? Seeing none? All right, moving on to item number 2 is an appointment of Brian Medgar to the Zoning Board of Appeals. This comes to us from the Council Vice President, Martha Tashnik, effective immediately in order to fill the unexpired term, which expires July 12th, 2026. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll invite Mr. Marr. He can come up to the podium if he'd like. But I wanted to express my support for the appointment of Brian Marr to the Livonia Zoning Board of Appeals. I considered many candidates actually for this position, and I feel like he will uphold the values and vision that we have in our community. So he emerged as an exceptional choice due to his deep roots in here in Livonia. He's got great professional expertise, genuine dedication to our city. During the city council appointment, many people called for new blood to be joining us. Brian did fit the bill, and he did, in fact, apply for the position. And he truly impressed me when we discussed the opportunity. While that position obviously went in another position or another direction, I do feel like Brian is going to be a perfect fit for the ZBA. He's a long-term resident of Livonia. He's got some great professional experience, unique character, and he meets the needs that our community needs. So I hope that my colleagues will support me in appointing Mr. Marr to the ZBA.
So, Mr. Marr, I've been gutting your name this entire time, which I'm sure you're not used to.
So all telemarketers.
Brian Marr?
It's an easy, Marr, like
Marr.
M-A-R.
Wow.
I don't know
I
where anyone
apologize.
would have a name that doesn't sound like it's spelled.
Listen, there's one thing, but no, Brian Marr. All right. Thank you for that, Brian, because I apologize for gutting your name the entire time. But I'm going to hand it over to Councilman Donovic. Thanks for stepping up, honestly, especially going through that process. I think you'll be a great fit. I'm going to hand it over to Councilman Donovic.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Marr, thank you for being here this evening. I, too, never met you until recently. I know earlier a resident talked about the appointment process of City Council. And while that appointment process is based in our city charter, our city constitution, we appoint as a majority of the City Council by our charter. I got the opportunity to meet you, and you've been a long-term resident of Livonia. And I got an opportunity to meet a lot of really interesting people and residents through that process, and getting to meet you and look at your background, reading about your resume. I'm an Army guy, you're an Air Force guy, there's a Marine here, so we're going to have some tussle over that. But it's nice to see a Livonia resident getting involved, very impressive background, as a business owner and all the things you've done. I think that the ZBA and these commissions are very important. People that have that kind of professional experience. I think you're going to fit well, and looking forward to your involvement, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Toy.
Thank you. Mr. Marr, what impresses me, many things on your resume, very, very outstanding for a young man of your age. And furthermore, being a business owner, really, I really enjoy that because very few people can do that anymore or have done it. And it gives you a perspective like no other. And so almost congratulations and welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For those out there in TV land that don't know what the Zoning Board of Appeals does, when people need a waiver to the zoning ordinances, they come before the zoning board. And the zoning board is the final word. The only thing that can overturn it is circuit court. So it is its own governing body. It's very important. And I am a former member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Mr. Morgan is, and Mrs. Sheila is. So we, all three of us, have seen the work that goes into that. And it's important to get these appointments correct. It's a very important body and a very diligent group of commissioners that sit on that board.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything else from council?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes.
Just
Councilman
add
Toy.
to the vice president, and if they didn't do it, we would have to do it because it's really under our duties. So I'm happy to have good people that can be appointed and do those roles since we have committees and public hearings and events and everything else that this council is very cognizant of. So
It's a
Yeah.
very in-depth job.
Yeah.
Oh, Councilwoman Shield.
I just wanted to offer the motion to go on the consent agenda if everybody agrees.
great.
We got I'm approving on consent. Did you want to say anything? No, thanks for stepping up, honestly. No, it's, like we said with that whole thing, you know, I can get into it and say, but we interviewed 25 good people. You're stepping up. Happy to see you in this role. And, you know, it's the ZBA is tough. You know, you're going to have some tough items that come up with a lot of emotion on it, but it gives you a little taste of municipal operations. So thanks for stepping up. And right now, the matter is on consent. So if you want to come hang out with us, it's always fun. And we'll probably see you on the 27th.
Awesome.
But it is on consent. You do not have to be here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Do you want to say anything?
Honestly, I'm happy, humbled. As you all said, I'm a lifelong Livonia resident. I was talking to my kids today about coming tonight and trying to explain this is an hour-long meeting, and they're like, I don't know about that. But what we talk about all the time at our house is civic involvement, and I'm proud to have an opportunity to show that to my kids as I raise them here in Livonia.
That's cool.
It's one of the cool benefits of having kids and being able to incorporate them in. So thanks for stepping up.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, forgotten your name. Anything from the audience on this appointment?
I got to be a grandma.
Seeing none, all right. We're going to move on to item number 3. It's an appointment of Imana Uday to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board. Comes to us from the Office of the Mayor to complete the remainder of a 3-year term, which will expire on November 24th, 2027. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Do we have?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'll offer an approval.
Consent?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Mr. President, does Councilwoman Toy know that her husband's wearing a Michigan State sweater?
Yeah, well, I forgot that. Perhaps he can change by the next meeting.
Go Blue Devils from Lawrence Tech, right? I have no skin. I have no skin in this game. Would you like to say anything?
I am looking forward to being of service to the city. I have tremendous experience with Brownfield. I work with Brownfield on a daily basis with my work, and I also hold a PhD in commercial redevelopment, which I think is very important to the Brownfield Authority. And I just want to be of service to the city.
No, it's awesome. Thank you again. I mean, having your expertise is nothing but good things for our city, and having you aboard and on that is even better. Council, do we have anything else?
No, welcome.
Well, we've been approving on consent, so your matter is all but expected to be approved. So thank you for stepping up, and if you ever need anything from council, just reach out.
Thank you for the honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything from the audience? Seeing none? All right, we're moving on to item number 4. Is a request to waive the formal bidding process and authorization to purchase. This comes to us from Livonia Fire and Rescue, a Hearst E-Hydraulic Jaws of Life extraction tool sets in order to enhance emergency response capabilities from budgeted funds. Chief, good to see you, as always.
Good to see you, Mr. President. Thank you very much, council members. Yes, the fire department is requesting and approving a resolution to purchase heavy rescue tools, commonly referred to as the Jaws of Life. It's been about 8 years since we purchased the last set of hydraulics that were first generation at the time. The batteries last longer now with the new generations, with the new technology. They work faster, they're waterproof. It's just increased capabilities for our department, not just for car accidents. We also use them on the tornado. We've also used them in collapses. We've used them in machinery accidents. So we would like to upgrade our tools.
Awesome.
Mr. Chair.
I got Vice President, and I'll go to Councilman Toy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, of course, we never want to have to use these tools. They're obviously necessary in your line of work. Are these the new ones that can handle like the reinforced steel cars and?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
We
Yep,
we absolutely need these. I'll be happy to offer approving on consent.
Perfect. Councilman Toy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm sure Councilwoman Shield knows, we go through these exercises. The fire department invites us over and dresses us up and puts us in buildings that are on fire and just any numerous kinds of things over the years that you guys have, really treated us to what you do in your line of work. One of the impressive ones was at Jaws, cutting that car out, and for me anyhow. And I wasn't as brave as these guys that went into the burning building, but or Kritzman that carried a body through several staircases and, oh my God. Those, what do you call them, hoses and things like that.
Yes, ma'am.
My dad was a policeman. He never had to do that kind of stuff, right, Scott? But you guys are just unbelievable. And I had a firsthand experience when I was riding with Joe McCotter, former councilwoman, and she got in a bad auto accident there on Farmington Road, and you guys brought out the Jaws to life to get her out of the car. So, I mean, that just, that memory just comes to light when I see things like this. So thank you very, very much for all you guys do over there.
You're very welcome.
It's amazing.
That's
Just amazing. Thank
what we're
you.
here for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We have an approving on consent, and honestly, these are, even taking it a step further, we're approving potentially saving lives. We are approving. So anything we can do to support our police and fire, just, keep them coming, because honestly, and going back to that, I know we got to get a hold of, we got to do that thing, we got to do the council, put us
Yes.
through the ringer again. That was, so, yes,
I'll go in.
yeah.
We're planning another Fire Ops 101 probably
Was-
for the summer or towards the end of summer.
I could tell you, Chief, just from my vantage point, and I'm sure I could speak for everybody, but some of the tools that you guys have, it gives us insight. It really does. It gives us perspective because we can sit there and read packets and try to understand them. But to actually see them in operation and knowing that what we can do to help you, it's a win-win situation. I'm going to go to Councilman Morgan.
Yeah, Chief, can you make sure to schedule that on the hottest day for them? Because they're so excited, and I'll just stand there and watch
Absolutely. Yeah, we
in
we
my
can make that
air-conditioned
happen.
car while they're taking care of that.
But we
They'll get a real appreciation for
Listen.
100 degree and then
absolutely
put them
will.
into a 1,000
Councilman
degree building.
Donovic and I
Absolutely
had,
will, and make
what-
sure
what's
you have
what's
rescue
the
on
roll
standby.
thing called? The roll, the cool roll, like when you guys are in the burn, when we were in the burn box.
Oh, flash
get-
over and
Yes.
roll over and,
I remember
Yep.
Joe was like, you guys were there for it. We were
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, Mr. President, I remember at the last one we did the fire ops training, we were all in our uniforms and you had the box on fire. It's a large room and you can't see any flames at all. It's just very, very hot. And you guys took out this gun that's got an infrared reader on it. And to our imagination, we didn't know there was fire all on top of us and in front of us. And we had no idea. If we would have stood up, we would have caught on fire. So what your firefighters go through is crazy. And I'll just add that I know some of my colleagues may have been happy with this. I stuck my face in, not knowing how hot it was before, and I felt my face melted. And your firefighters pulled me out. Because I didn't know, because you can't see the flames. It's just so hot in there, and all the smoke's in there. So I kind of peeked in there, and I got a nice tan, to say the least. So.
That explains.
I give props to our Human Resources Director, too, because she went in twice when got exposed to the elements there and saw what we did.
I think, Mr. Morgan, did you have a funny one to clap back at Councilman Donovic?
What's that? Oh, yeah, I said that explains some stuff why you can't grow a beard.
That's personal.
Listen, your matter's already on consent, so Chief, you're good.
I'm just here for the entertainment now, sir.
I know.
Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you, Chief.
you.
Anything from the audience on the Jaws of Life or the E-Jaws, the hydraulics? Seeing none, we're going to move on to item number 5 is a request to approve location and schedule of dates and times for the 2025 Board of Review meetings, as well as the compensation rates for members. This comes to us from the Department of Assessment. Good evening. Tell us, this is an exciting item.
Very exciting. Good evening. I'm just here for the annual March Board Review approval by council, hopefully.
No, thanks for coming out, Council, Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just housekeeping, basically, so I'd be happy to offer approving on consent.
Thank
All
you.
right, Council, any issues?
Mr. President, it's not often we get the assistant
I know.
here. Any tough questions for him? Let's grill him while we have him.
We would like him to come back next year.
All right. Well, with that, you do have an approving on consent. Any issues from the audience on our schedule and dates? Seeing none, your matter is approved. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin, you can do it. I want to see it. I want to see what you got here.
My arm has to get longer. I just want to make a mention about this. That these are open meetings, and this is years ago. I plan on attending those. I think I went 4 or 5 days in a row, and was ready to walk into the meeting, and it's in the assessor's office in a small room, and was grabbed right here and push back, and I was told that I couldn't attend the meetings. So when I said there were open meetings for anyone, then I was able to go in there. At that point, everyone that came in was asked if it was all right if I stayed in for the meeting. And it was mentioned that, Goslin mentioned, under the Privacy Act. There's no Privacy Act on an open meetings. Zero. Okay? Once again, but everyone was asked. Not one person said, well, I don't want Chris Martin in here. Not one of them. Some people actually knew who I was. Also, all decisions are made right then and there at the open meetings. Here's what they did. They wanted me to step outside while they made a decision. And then I could come back in, listen to the petitioner present their story about their taxes, then have to stand back out again. And when I said, well, that's not, you can't do that. So then the next step was they started tabling everyone. They would sit and listen to the petitioner and then table it and not make a decision. All decisions are made at an open meetings. There's nothing done behind closed doors, okay? But yet, all that took place. Everything took place. And so when I see these signs that the mayor has put up the last couple of years, be the eye in kind and no aggressive behavior and this and that, I can tell you this. If I would have grabbed Linda Goslin and shook her, I would have immediately been off to jail, okay, as an assault. Now, this is back, she got a promotion, got raises, and census took place. This was several years ago. But I just want people to know they're really unaware of what goes on in the city and how some employees behave. During the course of last year, people would come to this podium and tell you, okay, never really learned
30 seconds.
What the outcome was on some of those cases. Really never. And the behavior of some of these, and they're employees. They're not workers, they're employees. On a good day, you might get 4 hours of work out of an 8-hour day out of some of these guys. But just wanted to bring that forward and mention it again. These are open meetings. Anyone can go there. Okay? You're not supposed to be wrestled with. You're not supposed to be kept out of a meeting, and all decisions will be made in front of you when you're there.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. And I'll just mention that, and I'm being, with all sincerity, I know I can joke around a lot, but I'd be more than happy that if you'd like to go to any of these, I'll join you. I can't speak for what has happened in the past. I can only speak for where we are right now, and these are open. This is the public. We work for the citizens. So if you want to join, if you know,
And the
let
only
me know.
reason I really went to it was because I was interested in city council and I wanted to know how everything behaved.
Yeah, no,
Everything worked.
Listen, this is democracy. So if you have issues going forward, you know who to call. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Anything else from the audience? Seeing none. All right. We're going to move on to item number 6 is a request to approve an hourly rate increase. Comes to us from the Department of Civil Service in reference to the high school co-op, college co-op, and seasonal clerk classifications due to the new minimum wage rates. Ms. Leibel, before I hand the floor over to you, I just want to say, just for a point of reference, I asked a while back that these next 3 to be moved from a different agenda. And I just want the record to show that the reason I did that is I know I'd rather see it packaged for efficiency. If you have a ton of these that want to go forward or whatever, that we package them together. It was nothing more than that. Just to state on the record that we do definitely listen to your subject matter expertise. I just like as much as process improvement. That's all it was. So without further ado, the floor is yours. And sorry for delaying this.
Oh,
I
I
know.
appreciate
I
that,
know.
President. And introducing myself this time, I'm Janine Leibel on behalf of the Civil Service Department. Our first item for me on the agenda is to increase the starting rate for our high school co-op, college co-op, and seasonal clerk classifications. They would be under minimum wage as set by the state of Michigan. It was previously $10.35, and the rate is going up to $12.50. And going forward, we'll be pinning these amounts to our minimum wage. So as the state changes the minimum wage, which they are scheduled to do in 26, 27, and 2028, we'll have this automatically increased.
Sounds good. Yes.
Approving,
Consent?
please.
All right. Anything else from council? Anything from the audience? All right. We have an approval on consent. With that, I'm going to move on to item number 7 is a request to approve hourly rate increase. Comes to us from the Department of Civil Service in reference to the student substitute librarian classification. I assume this is just in par with everything we've talked about.
It is keeping it in par with everything we've been talking about, yes.
So just to let everybody at home know, this is obviously with the minimum wage increases, and it's pretty much going to go with the next.
I'm sorry, pardon me, Mr. President. No, the student substitute librarian classification is not pinned to minimum wage. I'm so sorry. The prior rate was, yes, I'm sorry. It was currently pinned to minimum wage. We're looking to increase that just due to the level of expertise that this person has to have. They have to have a master's degree as dictated by the state in order to even do the substitute job.
Sounds good. Council?
Approving on consent if there's no
All right.
objection.
We got an approving on consent. Anything else from council? Councilman Morgan?
I have just a question about this. It's going from $12, is that correct, to $20 an hour?
I think it was a position that we hadn't used quite as often as we needed to, and at the $12 rate, we just weren't getting any traction for that.
Okay, and you're saying they have to have a master's degree?
So, I'm sorry, to be a librarian in the state of Michigan, you do have to have a master's degree.
Okay. And this is just because the way it's worded and what I'm looking at here, the wage adjustment for student substitute librarian classification. So their students working on their masters or have their masters? I'm a little confused in why we're going.
No, that's fair. I have two classifications here. One is a substitute librarian, and I think we're tacking the student substitute librarian to the same wage because they're really a more interchangeable position. The person who would be the student substitute librarian would have to be at least in a a student librarian has to have their master's degree, so that is true. And I don't know specifically why we're calling it a student substitute librarian. I have substitute librarian here, and then I do see it looks vaguely interchangeable, and I can't answer for that, but I can say that trying to find a substitute librarian is very difficult. Because in order for you to have the librarian title, you do have to have a master's degree.
Okay. I'm still a little bit confused. I mean, is there any way you could get us some clarification on this? Because when we're going from $12 or $13 an hour to $20 and $22 an hour as a student substitute librarian, which I don't see any, as I'm looking through all this paperwork, it doesn't say anything about having to have a master's degree. I just wanted a little bit of clarification if you could get that to me.
Sure. And I have,
Councilwoman Budzinski, is it fine if we add this to the regular?
Yes, absolutely.
Would that be all right? So you can get
Yes,
some information?
that would be appropriate, I think. That way, could let us look at that.
yes, I mean, I can also give a little bit of clarity. I found the letter from our library director, Kristen Edson, and in order to be a substitute librarian, their pre-master's degree, they would be pre-master's degree, so they are enrolled in a master's degree program in order to take even the substitute position.
Oh, so they do not have to have the degree, they just have to be enrolled in the program?
They have to be enrolled and have at least 18 credit hours towards the master's degree in library and information science.
And if you have less than 18 going for a master's, good luck. You need a little bit more. Councilman Donovan.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President, and to our director. I'm reading a letter that was included in our packet, and it is from the Civil Service Commission. and it talks about possessing a master's degree in library and information science from an ALA accredited college or university, or have at least 18 credit hours towards a master's degree in library and information science from an ALA accredited college or university, have a minimum of 2 years experience providing direct service to the public. And I don't want to ask you, I wish our library or someone from the library was here to kind of tell us more about what this position does. I know you work on the civil service and HR side of things, so I'm not going to press you on what this position is. I know we've had a lot of library-related positions come before the council over the last couple of years, so I understand the pause in going from $12 an hour to $20 and also $22 an hour. It is a significant jump. So if you could maybe get us some reasons before the next meeting as to why this position is so critical, and I know you mentioned earlier maybe the reason why it was never filled is because it was maybe that $12 was way too low, understandably so. So we could kind of figure out some justification as to why this position is needed and what it's going to do. I appreciate the clarification.
Yes, and also please forgive me for, there are two separate classifications, substitute librarian and student substitute librarian. It's just that the student has not yet achieved their master's degree. So I apologize, I was getting confused over the side-by-side format.
So in the past, they've been getting $12 or $13 an hour, depending on how much time they spent, and a maximum of 20 hours.
Yes.
Is that correct? For the student substitute librarian.
I'm sorry, will you repeat your question?
So they were getting a maximum of 20 hours as a student substitute librarian. Is that correct? Because it says here, librarian, substitute librarian, they're making 20 to 22, going from 13 to 12. 12 or $13 an hour to 20 to $22 an hour. But their maximum is going to be 20 hours, is that correct? Is that?
$20 or 20
You know what?
hours?
I'm sorry, I'm kind of putting you on the hot seat, and I don't really, in this case, I don't really mean to do that, but maybe you could just get us the forms that they have and send it to us so we can make an informed decision
Okay.
in the regular. Is that okay?
No problem at all.
Thank you.
No, that's fine. So we do have we have the approving on regulars, so we can get some more information, if that's amicable for you. Do we have any other comments from council? See none. Anything from the audience? All right. Moving on to, where are we at here? This is item number 8. Request to approve modifications to classifications and wage increases comes to us from the Civil Service Department to approve wage rate adjustments and classification adjustments for part-time Parks and Recreation employees. This one's tied to.
This one, and that was a good mouthful of the whole summary there. So I can't tell you how many people we have in each individual classification that we listed here, because the way that the Parks and Rec Commission budgets is that they designate an amount that would go towards it. So I can't give you very specific data on how many people that we fill, although I think anyone who spends any time knows that we look to recruit a really good team of people there. They did kind of a deep dive. They reclassified 6 of their temporary positions and removed 4 temp positions, and then looked to increase the wages for all of their temporary employees.
Good. Council?
I'll offer approval.
Consent?
Certainly.
All right. We have an approving on consent. Anything else from council? Anything from the audience? Mr. Martin, the floor is yours when you want it.
Christopher Martin, great state of Michigan. Are this part-time stuff, is this the people, the summer help that we have over there? Is that what this is?
There's some of that.
Some of
Yes.
it.
Yep.
Maybe the majority of it would be? Well,
Approximately.
here's the situation I have with those. I don't know what the current wage increase is going to be. It hasn't been mentioned yet, but I can tell you this. Last time this discussion it was brought up about, well, people at Taco Bell make more than these people, and so that was some of the rationale. Here's the deal. At a fast food place, if you don't work, you don't have a job. That's it, okay? During the summertime, I see these nice John Deere gators, and people are sitting in them under a shade tree. Come back a couple hours later, they're still on their phone, still under that shade tree, okay? Over at Rotary Park, okay? I saw a guy driving a John Deere gator, ran it deliberately up on one of the boulders that separate the parking lot from the park itself. He's got it up on there, now he's trying to rock it, okay, to get it off the boulder, okay? 20 feet over, he could have driven between two of them. It was intentional. Kleinert Park. Racing across Kleinert Park, top speed of the thing, two guys in it just laughing their ass off. If they would have flipped that thing or rolled it over, they wouldn't have been laughing their ass off. At the end of the day, nobody is watching what these people are doing. I know you're up on the third floor, you're not watching what they're doing, okay? Nobody's watching what these guys are doing, period, okay? Ted Davis, I don't know where he is, never seen him. Have yet to see him out walking, okay? So I'm just saying, those are the three events with the John Deere Gators that I've seen. Somebody's going to get hurt on these. Another thing, I've been told that when these things blow up, okay, you don't fire the people, okay? So at the end of the day, it's my tax dollar and others out there who might be watching this, that's where your tax dollar goes, okay? To buy some recreational vehicles so these guys can play, or a chair that they can use it as to sit under a shade tree, okay, that type of stuff. So,
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
you bet.
Councilman Donovic.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Director. So if I understand this correctly, I know you're not the superintendent for parks, but we are removing multiple positions and then giving other positions, which are temporary employees, we're giving them pay increases?
For 2025, it would be a 50-cent increase to, ranges between $1.80 to 50-cent per hour increase.
Okay. So that ends up being, I think the packet talks about roughly about $85,000 in increased wages for
Yes.
that department?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
No problem. Councilwoman Budzinski.
Just to note, the positions that have moved up are listed as pool attendant, kid quarters attendant, park attendant, kid quarters supervisor, park supervisor, and another one affected, but not in pay per our information here is a garden supervisor. So for those who are interested in what position specifically we're referring to, those are the ones that are.
Mr. Chair,
You good? Councilman Toy.
sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're fine.
Just to Ms. Weibel, excuse me, and I think we're all aware of it. I know in my business I'm aware of it. People are a premium, and especially workers that want to work and want to stay at work, and then when they get the job, come back to work.
Back again tomorrow,
Yeah,
please.
yep. So until some people experience that in life, it's a little hard to understand. I get it. And if we don't pay people what others are paying in and around the areas, especially the state of Michigan would frown upon us if we didn't pay a minimum wage, for one thing, as was two items before us. So I think we got to keep that in mind as we go through these gymnastics of things. And I just, today's worker is a lot different than yesterday's worker. And, at my stage and age in life, I'm glad I don't have to deal with that kind of stuff as much as I used to. Because the hardest part is managing people and managing a big organization like you guys do in civil service. So I appreciate what you do. I appreciate you bringing this to us and the department heads that have worked so diligently to make sure that this city keeps it running, because we're one of the better cities in the state of Michigan. And I can say that from traveling this state quite a bit. So thank you for all you do, and please thank your team as well.
I truly appreciate that, but to his point, if someone does see something dangerous out there, Mr. Martin, I'll speak on behalf of Ted, and I'll tell you, please feel free to call us. We don't want anyone to be unsafe, and we certainly would appreciate any feedback at the time that it happens. Going back a year, there's not much I can do.
I will tell you this would be a waste of my time.
I'm sorry that you feel that way,
Very well.
but I still invite you to please let us know so that way we can make sure everyone's safe.
Yep.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I think we did forget to mention that Director Leibel is a Buffalo Bills fan, so I think we should
Only
probably...
when I'm not cheering for the Lions. That's it. Other than that, it's go Lions.
I love a Josh Allen, but not against my Lions. I'm with you.
You did not need to bring that up today.
That came out of left field. I will say this, so we do have an approving on consent with this. We did go to the audience. And Mr. Martin, just for, I'll give you guys some, so when I used to work in Novi, we would have to hire 25 seasonals. And we had a team, and I remember one of my colleagues, and I will not name him, but we had 15 interviews set up. And, not to discredit anything, but 15, we got 20 openings. And this guy was asking every single question, and tell me, what are your future goals? I was looking at it going, can you pass? Can you pass a drug test? Can you breathe? Can you work? And I can promise you that, going to Mr. Martin's thing, that if you don't have the right supervision, things can get out of hand. But the game is it's crazy. I still remember working for the city when I was at Lawrence Tech. They put me on putting dots on people's sidewalks. So you want to talk about a painful job? That's $90 a flag that I'm going out with a smile on my face as all the senior engineers are laughing as I'm charging people, and they're coming out ready to put some cement boots on me. But no, it's a hard job to do that and to maintain it, especially in this job market. So that is, and going back to that point, making sure that we have it. But hiring these jobs and the resources that you need and being competitive, we need to fill the spots, because if not, then the residents suffer, and we don't want that. So I digress. I will move on with that, and we are on item number 9.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is an award of bid from the Department of Public Works in reference to the 2025 Parks Tree and Stump Removal Program from budgeted funds. Mr. Moore, good to see you.
Evening, Council. Doug Moore with Department of Public Works. The first item I have before you tonight is the 2025 Parks Tree Removal Program. It was advertised on the Mitten website. We held a pre-bid meeting in November. We had 5 contractors at the meeting. We have 19 trees on the list, and the bid tab should have been attached in your packet. Ashton Tree Service on Industrial Road in Livonia was the low bidder. We've had them do work for us before. They're good company. Their bid was $26,375. Further, we would like to approve them for the additional $38,625 in that account to keep them on as a retainer for emergencies that may occur through the summer. Last year with the tornado, it would have been nice to have yet another contractor on staff, and that's what the hope is with that extra money this year.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Councilman Morgan.
Yes, this all seems in order, and appreciate you doing your due diligence on this. I'd like to offer an approving on consent.
We have an approving on consent. Anything else?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Thanks, Mr. Moore. So this contractor, they're not clearing the trees in the right-of-way for normal work, road work and whatnot. They're just clearing trees in parks or when emergencies happen?
Correct, yes. These trees are in parks and in public property.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anything else from council? Anything from the audience? Seeing none? All right. You have an approving on consent. Let's move on to item number 10 is an award of bid. Comes to us from the Department of Public Works, Forestry Division in reference to tree trimming, emergency tree services, and routine requests from budgeted funds. Mr. Moore?
This is our tree trim program. It's a 1-year contract with a 1-year extension at our request. We had the pre-bid meeting again in November. We had 5 contractors at the meeting. We had 3 bids come from it. Boone Development, AKA Sod Solutions, was the low bidder. They've been our tree trim contractor for 14 years at least. They do excellent work. The bid was, we would like council to approve the $250,000 portion of the line item for their work this year.
Council?
I'll offer an approving motion on consent.
We have an approving on consent. Anything further from council? Anything from the audience? All right, moving on to item number 11 is a request to approve software licensing and maintenance agreement with a sole source provider. Comes to us from the Department of Public Works with Azteca Systems, LLC, including CityWorks Online for the DPW work management system for the period of March 1st, 2025 through February 28th, 2026 from budgeted funds. Mr. Moore.
This is our CityWorks asset management program. Tracks pretty much everything for DPW. Residents call in, the complaints go in, the work orders are generated from it. Fleet maintenance uses it. All our stocks and supplies are run through it. This year's quote went up a little bit, but it's $100,881.57. The refuse account and the water and sewer account split this cost.
Cool. Council? Councilman Morgan?
Yes, I'll offer approving on consent.
You have an approving on consent. Anything further from council? Anything from the audience? All right, moving on to item number 12 is a request to waive the formal bidding process and authorize purchase of two 15-inch drum-style brush chippers through the state of Michigan bid process. Comes to us from the Department of Public Works to be used in the roads department. And just for the viewers, I always point this out because it always says to waive the formal bidding process. But if you take it a step further, Mr. Moore is diligent in looking to save the folks money in our city. And so he latched on to a cooperative purchasing agreement, which leverages the best pricing that's out there through the state of Michigan. With that introduction, the floor is yours.
Correct. These are through Bandit as part of the State of Michigan cooperative bid process. We're looking to purchase two new chippers. The two oldest, most problematic, will be shipped off to and gotten rid of through the auction process. Purchase price for a chipper is $48,476. The total cost for the two is $96,952. These are used by our brush pickup crews in the summertime and for storm damage removal and park maintenance and that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Councilman Donovan.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mr. Moore, so these are the chippers that when you have brush in your front yard and you bundle it out there in your driveway, our guys come through and collect it all.
Yes.
Awesome. And to Mr. President McCullough's point, right, you guys source the best possible prices. You work with these consortiums and try to get the most competitive prices for the city.
Correct, yes.
It's awesome. Good work to you guys. I'd like to offer an approving on consent if there's no objection from my colleagues.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilman Donovic. Anything else from council? Anything from the audience? All right. Well, let's keep it rolling. We got another one on consent. Let's go to, what are we at, 13? Request for authorization to purchase one self-contained leaf vacuum. Comes to us from the Department of Public Works to be used by roads from budgeted funds. Mr. Moore.
This is the big 25-yard self-contained you may have seen gets used on the major roads. It's larger, it offers a little more protection, and it's being purchased from, I got to find the company because the name changed. It's McQueen Equipment, used to be Bell Equipment. It's purchased through the state of Michigan, again, cooperative price discount. The cost of this is $142,101. We have 4 in inventory. We ordered one last year that's still coming to us. The next oldest one will be disposed of. The ones that we currently have are a little long in the tooth.
Approving, Mr. Chair.
Consent?
Yes, please.
All right, so we have an approving on consent. Anything else from council? Anything from the audience? All right. Moving on to item number 14 is a request for authorization to waive the sealed bid process and purchase 2 trailer-mounted leaf vacuums through the My Deal State bid process. Comes to us from the Department of Public Works to replace 2 current units from budgeted funds. Mr. Moore, I'm going to give you even more because thanks for telling us that spring is around the corner when we're looking at single-digit temperatures. So, Mr. Moore, another intro.
These 2 are also being purchased through the My Deal Cooperative Bid Program, again from McQueen Equipment, which used to be Bell Equipment. These are the smaller units that you see on the subdivision streets. The 2 oldest, most problematic ones will be shipped off through the auction process. We had 2 this year of the older in the fleet that had some serious issues with their tongues, so we do need some new equipment. The cost for one of these is $80,374. For the total for the two, it's $160,748. And all of this is budgeted funds.
Thank you. Council?
Approving on consent, please.
Perfect. We have approved on consent. Anything else from council? Audience? All right. We got an approving. Let's go to item number 15 is a request to extend the current Mr. Moore, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Item number 15 is a request to extend the current animal sheltering agreement between the City of Livonia and the Michigan Humane Society. Comes to us from the Department of Public Works Animal Control Division from a period of January 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2025. Mr. Jerzwicki, good to see you.
Good evening, Council President, Vice President, and council members. Welcome home, Councilwoman Shield.
Thank you.
Very, very happy to see you. Mr. Moore can only do 6 items per night, so I was tagged in to help the DPW with their 7th. This item is seeking a 3-month extension on the current animal sheltering agreement with Michigan Humane. As we continue to see increases in this contract, we thought it appropriate to ask for the extension at hand at the 2024 rates. As you know, the Humane Society has consistently been increasing their ask over the last 2 years, even prompting us to add a item to the Public Safety and Health Committee in May of 2023. So the Office of Government Affairs was brought in to add some intergovernmental assistance in engaging some of our neighbors, Redford, Westland, Dearborn Heights, all of whom are seeing these same increases. So with some support from the Conference of Western Wayne, we coordinated some meetings and data to see what kind of resolution we could make as a group. While we're asking for this 3-month extension now, we anticipate discussion on this contract. The current offers are for 1- and 3-year options, and we'd like some guidance from council and anticipate a likely committee meeting in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you. Councilman Donovic.
Thanks, Mr. President. Thanks, Mr. Jerzwicki, for being here. And as council will remember, I think last year we were kind of sticker shocked. And Mr. Jerzwicki is very diplomatic when he says consistently increasing. For the residents watching, Michigan Humane Society is charging the city $10,885 a month. So roughly $10,900 a month to contract with them. And unfortunately, it's a very difficult situation because the city wants to, help our 4-legged friends and the other animals that our departments may deal with, but this is not fathomable. I mean, right now it's almost $11,000 a month they're charging the city. So over the life of this contract, the 3-month extension, that's $33,000 we're going to pay over the next 3 months. It's not sustainable. And I know we talked about this last year, and from your tone, I imagine the next increase is going to be a lot more than this. So I'm going to keep my remarks short on this one, but I think this is a big issue for the city. I mean, we can't pay $130,000, $140,000 a year to deal with this anymore. So thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Toy.
Thank you. And as been talked about in the past, my colleague's absolutely right, but there's kind of a sole source provider, and that's where we get into a little problem, because we certainly don't want to have to set up a foster care program for the city for animals, cats, dogs, ferrets, whatever. So Humane Society is one of the only ones, and so no offense, they get a little brave on their pricing there, and I know that from what I've heard, you guys are going to get together with all these other cities and try and do something about it possibly. So I like the leadway that you're doing. So I'm going to offer an approving on consent and taking a closer look at this, since we only have one organization, if you will, that is providing those services.
There are not multiple humane societies.
No, there's not. No,
Correct.
no. And most of them won't take overnight. Tailwaggers does it, and several others in our community. They do a lot of good, but yeah, unfortunately, they don't have that.
And I'm maxed out.
Yeah, you're maxed out. I am too.
So
Eddie would
can't
have a
come in.
fit.
I will note I have one more slot left. I have 2 cats and 1 dog. I think I
Oh.
could adopt one
Well,
more.
I think I know some people that might know how to update the ordinance for temporary purposes.
Maybe we can keep all the cats and dogs at Mr. Fisher's house.
Mr.
Mr. Fisher doesn't live in the city of Livonia.
Better yet, doesn't apply.
Doesn't apply. Send them there. All right, done deal. I love it. I don't even know where we go from here. With that being said, we do have an approving on consent. Council, do you have anything further? Anything from the audience? All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Council.
Zwicky. All right, so we're moving on to item number 16 is award of contract. Comes to us from the engineering division for the DPW fencing replacement project with a 1% increase from the 2023 contract unit prices from budgeted funds. Mr. Moore, how did you skip one?
I'm back. Dave Lear offered to bring this, but to come for the very last one, or the second to the last one. Council, you may recall the last 2 years we've been here to continue working on replacing our perimeter fence. This will hopefully be the last section of fence we have to do. It's the old, across from the old headquarters area, and then the Stark Road entrance behind our neighbor Clippers and around the corner. That's all that hasn't been done. There's a section of new chain link fence at the very front along Surrey that we're not going to do at this time because it was done when the building was built, the new building. We're looking to go with Motor City Fence. They have a 1% increase from their original bid. Motor City has done an excellent job in the last 2 years of this program. They've come in, they've done the work, they've cleaned up real well, haven't had any issues with them. The quote for the last section, hopefully the last section of work, is for $95,519.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, can I just ask one quick question? What do you guys, is the removal of the existing fence, is that obviously that's included in the bid?
Yes.
Do we scrap that at all, or does that go right to the contractor?
Do you remember what I'm looking at Todd.
I think they take the.
I
old
think they
fence away.
took it.
Yeah, they dispose of it.
Okay.
I don't remember, but I think they took it.
Okay. Let me go to council, and then I'll get to you, Mr. Martin. Council, do I have direction?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'll offer an approving on consent. We got to protect our DPW.
Yes. We have an approving on consent. Anything further from council? Mr. Martin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Christopher Martin. Got a few questions on this. The current fencing that is there is 6-foot cyclone? Is that, and we're replacing it with 6-foot cyclone? Is that?
I think it's 8-foot cyclone, and we're replacing it with 10-foot railed anodized, like what's at the police station.
Like what was at the police? Well, currently at the police station is the nice wrought iron.
It's not wrought iron.
We're not replacing it with a wrought iron fencing. We're doing cyclone fencing, 8-foot height.
No, it's 10 foot.
10 foot.
10 foot.
We're going from
Aluminum
8 to 10.
anodized.
Yep.
Okay. How many linear feet are we doing of that?
I don't have the numbers.
800.
800.
8 and some change.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Martin. Anything else from the audience? Seeing none. All right, and then you have to take the last one. Are you taking this home, or is Todd?
Todd
You
is.
got the bonus.
Todd
Save the
always
best
does.
for last.
Always. Item number 17 is a request for council to set a date for the purpose of adopting a resolution placing special assessments upon reference properties whose owners have not paid charges connected with the 2024 sidewalk program contract 24-G. Mr. Zielinski, why's it got to be all in caps? Do you think it was, I was getting tired, I was not going to have this?
Shouting at you guys, they're at the end.
The floor is
Thank you,
yours.
Council President, Council members. I'll be brief. This is just the housekeeping issues. As you know, we send the bills out, the treasurers send the bills out in late February. Once they receive the bills, they have a certain amount of time to pay for it. If they don't, then they obviously have to set a date for special assessments to be paid. We did 235 locations. There are single lot assessments in the amount just under $302,000, and looking for your approval to set that date and then collect if people don't pay. Thank you.
Awesome. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd be happy to offer an approving on consent. Let's go get this money.
There we go. All right. Well, that concludes our study agenda. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I'm going to go back to the audience. Does anybody have any questions? Since I know each one of you, you're nodding your heads or not, but thanks for hanging out. Councilman Toy, take us home. What do you got?
To adjourn, Mr.
That's
Chair.
it?
Support.
All right. Good night, Livonia.